Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Force Concentration Zulu as our British. His opponent today is going to be Ray as our Wehrmacht. And because I'm going to do red on the left and blue on the right, so let's quickly swap that. Very good. Now we got red on the left, blue on the right. Map today is going to be Pacino Stalemate. Really nice map. These guys chat to each other about dinner. So you got a lot of resources over here connected to this relatively exposed cutoff point. And in the most recent patch, they added these high-value field points on the edges here to make this side a bit more interesting as well. This cutoff point is also connecting you to all of that, but it is a little less exposed than the point on the opposite side. And of course, you got this neat little town in the middle. So just reading their chat there. Oh, I missed it. Alright, well. Have to live without seeing what that said. So, I've had some folks asking about showing player ratings. So, in a compromise, I have decided to show player ratings at the end of the game. So, if you are interested in these players' elos, as well as their ranking as their respective factions, definitely hang around till the end. It'll be on the score screen. I'll point it out. You know, I don't want to spoil games by, you know, showing that one player is necessarily way higher rated than the other. I think that, you know, for me personally, I don't want to have any indication of who's going to win a game until I've watched the game. And I know that can be difficult to hide with match length and that type of thing. But for me personally, that's an important aspect here. And I don't want to ruin games for you guys by showing the elo, but I also recognize that some people want to see that. So that's why I've decided at the end of the game. If you have any thoughts on what I just talked about, I'd love to hear it. So that's what I got to say about that. Very standard opening for both players here. We got 2 Royal Engineers into infantry sections. And we've got 2 Pioneers into 2 Grenadiers. And I expect we might see another Grenadier here. But a heavy machine gun could also be in the cards here for our Wehrmacht player. And yeah. So I haven't cast a Zulu game in ages. For those of you that don't know, Zulu is a streamer on Twitch. So if you're interested in those first-person gameplay views or improving your own gameplay by watching others, highly recommend his channel. Actually plays a lot of team games, and I've even caught him playing a couple team games with Ray. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Mine's already gone down for our British player. Has added on minesweepers as well, so obviously concerned about mines from his opponent, but honestly a relatively quiet game to start us off here. Both players going to walk away with relatively equal resources here. But this is a very valuable point for our British player here. Doesn't want to lose it, but is going to lose it now. Does have more infantry coming in to try and defend the point, but is going to have that fuel taken away from him here. Now, he does have access to his opponent's fuel on that left side, so not the end of the world here. But nice little push here by our German. Mines kept catching those Pioneers on their way out the door. And this is not a place you want to be if you're a Grenadier, so we will see him bail out of here pretty shortly here. Fight breaking out in the middle. Both players in behind each other's lines here. And this fight definitely looks like it's going to favor our German. Now, interestingly, our German has gone up to 4 Grenadiers and is adding on a 3rd Pioneer here, and our British player is going 4th Infantry section. Very cool. So, and actually going for an Infantry Officer Quarters here is our German, so going to have level 1 veterancy on all of his current units. This is going to be a slow fight, but our German is ultimately going to win that fight. And infantry section trying to prevent these Grenadiers from capturing the cutoff point. Doesn't want more of his resources denied there. But those Grenadiers in heavy cover are going to drive back the opponent there. Now our British player is locked in the Canadian Shock Battle Group and has gone for this offensive resupply, so every time he decaptures a point, He's going to be able to throw grenades for free. Gives you a 35 munitions discount on your abilities. And that also applies to the artillery barrage. So it's not a full discount, but it is pretty good. Grenadiers being flanked here by these Royal Engineers. And infantry sections are going to close the gap as well here. So nice little flank, but more Pioneers coming in from the side here. Should get a great flamethrower blast across this big old blob here. Royal Engineers on a bad retreat path. Should be okay, though. Infantry sections just fleeing from these Pioneers. And actually, German in force on this left side here. So British player is going to have to be careful on this edge. That said, there is a squad of British units on that right side capturing a bunch of territory while this is happening. So both players just going to trade areas of the map here. Our player hasn't locked in his battle group just yet. He's storing up a decent amount of fuel here. And I'm over here thinking that maybe we're going to see Luftwaffe battle group. And potentially the infantry reserves to get some discounts on reinforcing his units. We'll see if that ends up being what he wants to do here. Is adding on the Luftwaffe company now. And we could see support elements soon behind that. About, what is that? About 3 minutes away from a tank, like a flak panzer, if that's what he wants to do. More mines going down for our British player there. Just wanting to control the flanks, and we've seen both players flanking each other pretty effectively here, so mines are going to shut that type of play down. Fights taking place all over the map here. Royal Engineers going to finish their capture and get out. And a bunch of British units here in the middle are going to drive back these Grenadiers pretty quickly here while capturing that center point. And nicely done on this left side. I mean, he's managed to maintain his fair share of the territory, just leaving one unit behind to engage in a long-range, slow fight here while the bulk of his forces work through the middle here. And a scout car on the way for our German here. I hear more mines. There they are. This nice little gap here. That's a bit scary. Now, for those of you that don't know, you are able to hear your opponent planting mines in the fog of war. So I suspect that our German knows that there are mines being placed in that area. Although I can't say for sure. Depends where he's looking on the map, of course. Does have minesweepers though, so gonna be able to suss out those mines if he manages to position correctly here. Scout car on the field, dealing with this infantry section at long range. Just gonna finish that capture and get on out of there. Flamethrower Pioneers closing the gap here, and supported by the scout car, gonna push into the center of town. Look how much the map is blinking red though. German player grabbing all sorts of territory on that left side and going to deny the cutoff point on this right side. Royal Engineers almost made it to the cutoff point in time. Should win this fight pretty handily, but with the Scout Car Pioneer coming in to support, it does look like this fight is going to ultimately favor our German. But here comes a Humber Armored Car to save the day, and Scout Car is going to have to get on out of there. Armored Car chasing, but not going to pursue all the way there. Doesn't know if there's mines in the fog of war. Doesn't know if there's Jaegers in the fog of war. And as I say that, he's going to get aggro and chase these Pioneers down. Might even get him on the way out. That'd be a nice little pickup for him. He's going to eat a Panzerfaust for his trouble there. Scout car coming back in, not upgraded with the anti-tank package. So Humber Armored Car fleeing for its life. Grenadiers were trying to close the gap there for another hit, but aren't going to get it. Pioneers nearly going down and are going to go down there. So losing a couple Pioneers here is our German. Sure, he's not too happy about that. Has locked in the mechanized battle group here. Went up to armored cars, and we're going to immediately see an armored car from him. So the 8-rads do pretty darn well against a Humber Armored Car. Fortunately for him, getting a little aggressive with that scout car, going to eat an AT grenade and get destroyed there. So things looking really good for our British player right now. But this armored car is on the field and is going to be a little bit scary to deal with. Now there are some Infantry sections immediately retreating upon getting sight of that unit. Gonna even throw some smoke down to cover the retreat there. And I love those. I love it when the grenades do that crazy vertical, and it happens with like all the lobbed abilities. So 6-pounder being added on in response to this 8-rad. German player continuing to steal away his opponent's fuel, so British player being denied fuel in a really big way here. I mean, he's lost this cutoff point several times. He's lost his fuel point and his guaranteed fuel point, the one attached to his base over there. AT grenade over the wall there, going to damage that unit a little bit. Umber armored car avoiding trouble here. German player did find those mines, so does know about that. Grenadiers once again going to steal away this cutoff point. That's super annoying. There's a 6-pounder on the field, but the 8-rad is hiding behind this tree here. Should get one shot on its way out. AT grenade going down. Infantry section on the chase. Humber armored car looks like it's going to find this 8-rad. Going to eat a Panzerfaust for his trouble. We might see some units traded. And wow, nicely done there by the Grenadiers from behind. Going to save the 8-rad there. 6-pounder not in position. So both players trading some body blows here. We are seeing a second 8-rad on the field now. So, yeah, gonna stay on this 8-rad tech for a little bit. We'll see how that ends up working out for him. So with 2 8-rads, you know, players use them, you know, one of two ways really. They either clump them up and they get super aggressive, and they try to pick up squads, which is what the unit is intended to do. And the other option is to keep them spread out, kind of support your other infantry. And it kind of feels like that's what Ray has in mind for this game. Just going to keep this 8-rads, you know, wherever he needs them. But he's definitely not grouping them up. Now, German player does not have a whole lot of anti-tank capability here. I mean, typically you'd see Jaegers at this stage, but German players, of course, invested a bunch of manpower into some stuff that is not anti-tank here. Pioneers picking up the mines in the face of that infantry section. That's funny to see. 6-pounder in the middle, ready to go here. 8-rad going to drive away some infantry. And so with the breakthrough, with the mechanized battle group, right, you get access to this raid package here, so the light vehicles can capture territory here, and that's what we're seeing on that bottom side. So using these units to maximum effect. Continuing to be annoying as heck. And Canadians on the field for our British player. Very cool. So I wonder if we're going to see Piats here. I mean, so typically, I don't know. I think that Piats aren't... Piats are exactly as strong as Panzerschrecks. They have the same statistics all the way around. Penetration, fire rate, all of it. But for whatever reason, the Piats don't feel as good as a Shrek to me personally. Another 8-rad on the field here. And German player, or British player responding with Stuarts here, potentially. Very cool. What an off-meta game here. This is so much fun to see. So Canadians, of course, very, very tanky. And will do pretty decently against everything that German currently has on the field. Except, of course, for the major problem, which is these 8-rads. But that's what these Stuarts are for. And, I mean, despite being denied a ton of fuel here, has managed to save up about 100. So should be able to add on a couple Stuarts here if he wants to, and potentially refund them later. But look at this blinking red map. Once again, Ray controlling the flow of battle here, controlling a ton of territory, denying his opponent as much fuel as humanly possible here. And even going to capture this fuel point on the right side here. Oh man, didn't quite finish the capture, but in jeopardy of losing the units, so probably got out of there at the correct time. May still pay for it though. And does look like that Pioneer's going to go down, so nice little pickup there by our British player, just denying as much as he can. And I think our British player is rightly focusing on this right side, right? He needs fuel. He must have his income. And if you can't control the whole map, control the resources that you need to succeed, right? And there is a Stuart coming in now. And 6-pounder is in position to get a shot here. Going to get one, but infantry section's not able to close the gap. And with the 6-pounder no longer in range, this fight is looking pretty favorable for our German. British player is going to take the territory, though. Has gone up to Piot's. No real... well, I guess a little surprising to me, but at the same time feels like the right decision at this stage in the game. And I only say it's surprising because it's just not as common as you might think at a high level. 6-pounder finding a shot on the 8-rad, going to continue to drive them back there. And does look like the British player is going to win this fight, but only barely. British player is having to deal with the German tightening the noose on that bottom side a little bit. Once again, denying as much fuel as possible. Stuart in the area. 6-pounder a little exposed, but does have the support of the tank nearby. So 8-rad's not going to dive there. I have a machine gun on the scene here. Is going to reposition. Stuart looks like he might find him there. And being very, very careful with that Stuart. I do believe this Stuart is fairly vulnerable to this number of 8-rads, despite their seeming... despite the fact that it is not a hard counter, of course. And I'm feeling like we're going to see another Stuart here. I think that would be... just trying to think about what our British player needs. Because it feels like he's getting outmaneuvered here. Those 8-rads have a ton of mobility and can just run circles around our British player. And, you know, it's another 6-pounder. Sure, it's going to do good against 8-rads, but it doesn't have the mobility to chase them around the map. And we're seeing our German player take advantage of that, so I'm thinking that another Stuart would be pretty good here. It doesn't feel like he's going to be in control of this game long enough to get up to Crusaders. I mean, he's down to 89 points here. He does control one of the victory points, but he does not have time to wait for fuel. So I suspect we're going to see more Stuarts here. Potentially. Piot's going to find a shot here. Missing their first shot, unfortunately for them, being focused down by the 8-rads so they don't get a chance. Stuart rolling in. Try and cover this infantry. And mines absolutely everywhere, but fortunately for our British player, does have those minesweepers. Grenadiers looking for a Panzerfaust here. Stuart's going to respect that. Infantry section moving forward here. British player is still not controlling 2 of the victory points here. Needs to fix that immediately. And as I say, that German player immediately diving into the middle. Got the support of the 8-rad as well. And Stuart's going to try and respond to that threat now. Second Stuart on the way. And is going to find this 8-rad. Looks like he's going to get in behind the 8-rad. Now, remember, 8-rads are rather tanky for their weight class, right? They got a lot of armor, a lot of health for the weight class. So this Stuart, I mean, despite the fact that he's dealing decent damage here, does need to be really careful. More 8-rads on the way. One severely damaged. Stuart looks like he's going to find it, but at what cost here? Definitely going to eat at least one Panzerfaust. Panzer Schrecks on the way for these Jaegers. Stuart is bailing out now, nearly taking down the 8-rad, but not going to happen. One shot going to come out from the Panzer Schreck. Should live through that and is going to escape here. Heavy machine gun not going to be able to deal with the Stuart on its way out the door. There are Grenadiers here, though, so Stuart still in danger. Checking in on this left side. Does have control of that victory point as well as the middle. So for the time being, our British player has stopped the bleeding. And Stuart is going to be found out by those Grenadiers with the Panzerfaust. And what a dive there. I do think that favored our German ultimately. Our British player's hurting for fuel, so every tank is precious. And at the same time, German has 2 more 8-rads behind that first one that he lost. So while I'm sure he's feeling the loss a little bit, isn't the end of the world. AT gun going to help out against these 8-rads. Again, 8-rad able to capture here because of that raid package on the mechanized battle group there. Stuart looks like he wants a piece, and the 8-rad is going to respect that. But here comes a big old push by our German right through the middle here. British player is not controlling his valuable fuel on the right side. He does have some fuel, but is going to be getting further and further behind here. Company command post on the way for our British player. I actually think that foot guard could be pretty decent here, but it is very risky to tech up when you're this far behind. Shrek's going to cover that 8-rad's retreat there. Canadians trying to get involved as well. Looks like they're going to hop in the house there. The Pioneers capturing that central point. And getting a little bit scary here. Canadians are going to step onto the point to prevent the capture from happening. 6-pounder actually being flanked by the 8-rad. Stuart's going to help, but there is going to be a Faust coming down here, disabling the tank. And 6-pounder might get a shot. Not going to happen. Stuart's still on the chase there, but Grenadiers look like they're going to pick up the 6-pounder. And that's going to be rough for our German, or for our British player there. Might have to trade an 8-rad for it. But I think that's a trade he'll take once again, being ahead the way he is. 8-rad still running. 6-pounder getting a shot on the rear armor. The Stuart. 8-rad getting around behind the corner. Attack round through the brush there. Did hit him, but not enough damage. And here comes the Shrek. Looks like he is going to trade. Oh my god, how is this Stuart alive? Popping smoke, barely living, bailing out now. Attack round, not going to connect. What a series of plays that was. Flaming grenades. That's the incendiary munitions flying out here. Dealing a ton of damage to that heavy machine gun. Anti-tank grenades coming down here, but with 2 victory points under our Germans' control. Bleeding fast here. Is going to capture 2 of them back. Infantry sections really, really want this 8-rad on its way out here. Does have a damaged engine. I don't think he's off cooldown on the grenades. So I think this 8-rad might escape here. Oh, is going to get another AT grenade, so really nicely done there. That was important. And, you know, despite the heavy vehicle losses, our British player has done a really good job keeping his units alive here. I mean, he's lost the 6-pounder, he's lost several vehicles, but other than that, looking pretty decent here. So there is a world where he pulls this game back, despite being on the brink here. But Ray's not going to make it easy for him, and as I say that, the 4th 8-rad of the game is going to capture that top point. Grenadiers standing on that bottom point. 32 points to go here. German needs to just hold the line here. British player needs to make a play immediately. Canadians on their way here. They do have access to those incendiary munitions, so if they get a lucky hit here, could be able to take that point back with Pioneers grabbing the middle here. Things are looking pretty darn grim here. And is going to be driven back from the middle there. So I don't like to call games too early, but I do think this is the last stand right here. Infantry section must stop that capture from happening. Aren't going to do it. And GG being called there. So what a great game. That was a fun little fight to see. Both players played extremely well. And check it out. I am going to turn on the rankings here, and unfortunately Zulu's name is so darn long that it's going to cover up his rank there, but he is number 4 as British with 1959 ELO there, and Ray of course in the 2100s at rank 2. So hopefully you guys like this end score screen here. I'm going to have to think about where to move this rating, as long names are going to cover it up. Hope you guys enjoyed that game as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.